Klickenabendler, wir sind auf der Spiel 2024, jetzt bei Spielworxx und wir haben eine weitere Leder-Games-Neuheit, Arx, die nächstes Jahr erscheinen soll. Und der Cole wird das jetzt erklären und wir halten einfach drauf und lassen ihn reden. So now you can begin.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. Oh, you hold it. Okay, I'll stand here. All right, hello everyone. I'm going to teach you how to play Arx today, which is currently, as you can see, in localization, published by our wonderful partners at Spielworxx. And you can find English copies which may have sold out or may be close to selling out. So no guarantees for all of you gathered around. So I'm going to teach this game the way that I have generally always teach it. A lot of the games that I teach, I do rolling teaches where we just start playing. This is the one exception because it's important that you understand how everything works before you even begin playing the game. So we're going to go through all the rules. I'll walk through little examples. I'll remind you of the same rule over and over and over again. I'm going to be very much like a high school teacher. But when we are ready to play, you will know everything you need to know about the fundamentals of the game. Okay, so Arx is a strategy game played over a number of hands. We have 4 players set up here at the table. This is the victory threshold. So at the end of the period, the chapter, if one player has more than 27 victory points, the game will end and the player with the highest score wins. So pretty straightforward. Now you get points over here by scoring these ambitions. Ambitions, there are 5 of them. They are stable. Those are always the way that you're going to be getting victory points, but only certain ones will be activated. So for instance, this one right here is all about controlling relics. And so if there are victory points associated with it, the player with the most relics will get 5 victory points. The players with the second most will get 3. If there's a tie, both players get the lower amount. Now, the same ambition can be declared multiple times. For instance, at the end of the game, at the end of the chapter rather, it might look like this. That means this condition is worth 8 points, this condition is only worth 2. These people, these sorry people who are working on these conditions aren't going to score anything this hand, and that's all right. Then at the end of the chapter, the lowest one of these values is going to flip over to its higher side, and then all of them are going to go back up to the top. So we'll talk more about these in a little bit, but I wanted you to understand what we are all trying to do in the game. All right, so let's talk about the board. The board is composed of these systems. Systems are either empty, these are called gate systems, or they have a planet systems. Planet systems have a number of slots, so 2 slots here. You can imagine that a triangle thing goes in that triangle slot. These are called buildings. There are 2 types of buildings. The starports, which have a little spaceship on them, and cities, which look like this. These pieces are ships. Like a lot of the other games I've worked on, multiple players can have pieces and ships in the same space. That's okay. In addition, note that all pieces have 2 states. They can be fresh or they can be damaged. A damaged piece is tipped on its side, or if it's a building, it's turned over to the back. The last thing to know about the spaces on the board is that the planets are associated with resources. This is materials, this is fuel, this is relics. There are 5 copies of every resource. That's not a lot, there are 4 players. So if someone is holding on to all the materials in the game, no one else has any materials and they have to deal with it. All right, now you'll note that this one area is kind of covered with these little chips. This means that this is out of play. When you play the game, there are these setup schemas which determine the random deployment of players. There are several of these for every player count, and you will find that even the same one can be played a lot of different ways. All right, so we have everything set up. We know what the pieces are. We know where the cities are, where the starports. Last thing I want to draw your attention to is the player board. Note that there are slots on the player board where you hold your resources. So if you gain a resource, you have to put it on a slot. By building cities, you can give yourself additional slots. All right, so let's take a look at the core of the game. Now, Arx is played using a lead-follow card system that some people call trick-taking. I'm not going to use that word because I'm in the halls of Essen and there are little trick-takers that are going to jump out and get me if I use the word too much. So, the way it works is one player is going to lead a card. They're going to have the initiative, let's say it's you, and you're going to lead a card. After you play that card, you are going to take an action for every star symbol, every little pip that you see on that card. So that is a 2-action card. It's an aggression card, and aggression means you can take any of the actions listed on the aggression card. Does that make sense? All right. Once you've fully done your turn, we go clockwise. It's now your turn to play. Now, you have a few choices. If you have a card that is the same suit but a higher value, you can surpass. When you surpass, you get all the actions on the card. Now, let's say you had a card that was of a lower number than a 4 but the same suit. Any card in your hand can be played face down. When you play a card face down, you follow. Follow means you take one action of the lead card. So maybe, for instance, I have a construction card, but I don't want to be peaceful. I want to be aggressive right now. So I'm going to turn this card face down. Instead of getting 4 construction actions, I'm going to get 1 aggression action. So again, same suit and higher than the lead card. That's surpassing. You get all your actions. Any card face down is following. The last thing you can do with a card is you could play a card face up, any other suit. When you do this, you only get 1 action. So when you play a card off suit, you still get value from it, but it's a smaller value. Because maybe you really needed to run away. Now, after we've all played cards, so 4 players, we'll have 4 cards out there. You do have to play a card. The player who played the highest on-suit card gets the initiative for the next turn. So in this, the player in the second position would get it. These come up, get discarded, and then you would lead the next card. Does that all make sense? There are a couple small rules that are very important in understanding how this works. The first rule, to go back to these, is called seizing. When you're playing cards, you might really want that initiative, but you don't have a higher blue card. You could play any card, take an aggression action, and you can throw away a second card. When you do this, you seize the initiative, and you set it down to show that it cannot be seized again that round. And then the rest of the play would play normally. This is called seizing. Rule number 2. The 7s automatically seize. So it's like you played a second card. Whoops, I unsleeved this. Sorry. Okay, so if you play a 7, it's like you automatically seized it. So it's like playing a second card. If another player had previously seized, this would not have an effect. Okay, excellent. All right, lastly, the last rule of card play is that the lead player has the option, actually this would have to be face down, because you cannot play a lower card on suit face up. It has to be face down. Okay, now, the lead player only. Where's this thing? Let's say it's you. You have the option of declaring an ambition. This symbol activates that victory condition, so the empath condition. So this would come down, the highest value, and you activate that. But you have reduced the card's value to 0. Which means this player could play this face up. Make sense? Yep. Beautiful. All right, now these little aids are very useful. All of the rules of card play, in a language I don't read, are written right here. Okay? So everything I just said is right here. Now we're ready to talk about the actions. Every card gives you access to actions. So the mobilization card gives you access to the influence action and the movement action. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through every suit and every action in the game and explain how they work. At that point, we're ready to play. So, move and influence. Influence allows you to take one of your agents and to put it on one of the cards out here. This is a 3 influence card. So you could put 2 here and 1 there. Make sense? Okay. Those guys are a bid. They will allow you to win those cards later if you have the most pieces on them. The movement action allows you to move any number of your pieces from one space. I'm cheating. We'll put these back. From one space to another. So this is a movement action. I could go like this. I could go like this and like this. That's fine. All right. You can also divide them up. I could go 1 move, 2 move, 3 move. You are also welcome to mix and match your actions. If I wanted to move one and then put some guys out, that would be okay too. All right. There's one special move rule, which is that if you have undamaged ships, not undamaged ships, no, if you just have ships. If you have ships at a spaceport, you'll see how it has a little ship flying out very quickly. You can make a catapult move. A catapult move lets you move through any number of gates to another planet. There's one small rule, though, about this, which is if you move into a spot where the enemy controls, you have to stop. Now, control is always defined as the number of fresh ships. So whoever has the most fresh ships controls it. In this instance, I would have to stop. I could keep moving, but I'd have to spend actions to keep moving. Does that make sense?
So, but in this case, there's just 2 enemy ships. So wouldn't I get control when I move in there?
So the catapult move says, move until you can't, so you have to stop. Okay. Then you could take another move and start moving things out. Now, it doesn't matter how many ships are here, so long as they have more. Now, if both of these ships were damaged, there's no blockade. So these ships could move all the way up here, or they could move here and stop. Okay. All right, so that's both the actions on this card. Easy. Let's look at this suit. This is the administration suit. You'll notice it has the influence action on it as well. So you can use this card and this card to put out agents, all right? Easy. It also has the repair action. And the repair action is my favorite one to explain because all you do is you take a damaged piece and you tip it back. That's all the repair action is. Damaged building, doesn't matter where it is, has to be your own piece though. The third action that this card has though is tax. The tax action says, select a city and take the matching resource. You are allowed to select your own cities and enemy cities that you rule. So, for instance, blue could select that material city and take a material from the supply and put it here. If you have other resources, you can throw them out if you want. If you control an enemy city, let's say it was like that, you can also tax that resource. When you do that, in addition to the resource, you steal one of these guys and you put them on the captives box. You will note that this icon matches the tyrant condition. So if you're taxing your opponent a lot, you're going to generate potential to score victory points. Okay. All right, that's the administration card. Let's look at construction. Construction allows you to repair and to build. We've already talked about repair. You can see how the suits kind of link together like a chain. So you almost always will know one action on every suit. So repairing we talked about. To build, you need, it's quite simple. In a place where you have presence, any piece, you can build anything. Or sorry, you can build any building. In a place where you have a spaceport, you can build a ship. The rule for spaceports is that you can only build one ship per spaceport per card. This rule actually also applies to taxing. You can only tax each city once per card. So I can't have played this and go tax. Likewise, I can't play this and put down 4 ships here. I could put 1. If the enemy controls the space, it's under blockade. You can still build there, but it comes out damaged. Okay? Does that make sense? Beautiful. Now, I mentioned that you only need presence to build. If I had this here, I could build a city. That's fine. You don't need a ship to build, just a piece. Okay. Now, as you build your cities, you will increase the amount of resources you can hold. That's good. At the end, you will also increase your scoring bonus. If you get first place in a victory condition, and you have all your cities on the board, you will score additional points. It is only for the player who got first. Okay. Okay, does that make sense? Beautiful. Time for those aggression cards. Aggression cards have 3 actions. They have a move, we've already talked about the move. They have a battle and they have a seize. Seizing allows you, or securing, sorry. Securing allows you to take one of the cards in the market where you have the most agents. So as an example, let's do that. This player could secure this card or that card. If you secure this card, you take it into your player area, these go back to your stock, and any enemy pieces become captives. This card has a power on it. Some powers will use the word in English prelude. This means a start of turn power. Before you take any actions, you do a prelude power. This icon counts for your resources when determining victory conditions. So if you have these lattice spies, is what it is in English, you'll have 1 point towards this victory condition. All right. Sorry to deprive you of that card. That's a good one. Okay, so that's securing. When a market spot is emptied, we refill it from the deck. All the cards out here have this gold frame around them. We call those cards guild cards. Guild cards have a resource and then they have a power. There are other cards which look like newspaper. Those are Vox cards and they're events. When they're secured, they have an immediate effect and then they're gone. All right, the last action of the game is battling. To battle, you will move into a spot and then you will, not move, you will choose a place where you coexist with someone. You will choose a target. So red could choose yellow here. After you've chosen your target, the attacker is going to make a pool of dice. They get 1 die for every ship. So let me show you. You get 1 die for every ship. The system is very simple. You roll the dice and then you do what the dice say. All right, so we do this. That's 1 hit. The attacker makes all choices in combat. So I could say, I want to hit this. Ships have to be destroyed before you can hit buildings. Let's say I mean, this is 3 battles. I could battle again. Okay. Now, these dice are 50-50s. Half hits, half not hits. I could roll these red dice. They have more hits on them, but they also have flames. The flames are hits to yourself. So it's a self-damage. When you are resolving dice, you always hurt yourself first, then you hurt the opponent. It's possible that both sides will fully eliminate each other. That's fine. This symbol is the intercept. They found out you were coming before you got there. So you'll do 1 hit on them, but they are going to do hits equal to the number of undamaged ships they have. So if red would have rolled this, for instance, this is a bad roll for red. Red would do 1 hit, and yellow would do 3 hits back. Remember that the attacker makes all decisions here. So red could do that, and then red would say, okay, and I have to take 3 hits as well. Does that make sense?
So wasn't it just undamaged chips you just said?
Oh, yes, but with this symbol, it's so 1, 2, 3 hits are coming in, and 1 hit is coming out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the target is bad for you as an attacker. All right. You are free to mix and match dice. I could, as red, go like this. In this case, I could destroy this ship and then hurt myself 1. Or I could damage 2 ships like that. Yeah. That's both fine. Now I'm in my second battle. Maybe I want to use it as a move action. I could just scoot out, right? Or maybe I want to fight again, but with blue dice. 2 hits, very good.
I can fight with this ship?
Yep.
Yeah.
Damaged ships can work just like all the other ships. My next roll is this. I can kill these 2 damaged pieces. With my third action, I could then leave if I wanted to. Now the last type of dice are these orange dice. These are raid dice. These are bad dice. You will not do very much damage with them. In fact, the damage that you do work has this triangle in it. That means that it goes around the enemy ships and hits the buildings because you're trying to attack the buildings. But it will also have bad faces like that. There are faces like this. Now, this key allows you to steal from your opponent. You can only do this if you have a survivor. So after you've done all the hits, if you have at least one ship left, you may steal things equal to the number of keys that you rolled. So let's say you rolled that, right? That's 3 keys. You'll note that everything in your player area has a key value. This is a 3-key resource, so you could take this from that player. Also, these galactic bards have 1 key, so they're very easy to take. They're happy to go with the new boss, all right? Some other of these cards are more loyal. Does that make sense? That is the combat system. All right. So we've gone through the general structure of play. We've gone through all of the actions in the game. There's a few little odds and ends. So you're going to have 6 cards in your hand. When it's your turn to play a card, you have to play it. The exception is if you start with the initiative and you hate your hand, you can just pass the initiative on to the next player. And then now you're the lead. If everybody passes the initiative, the round is over. Because you've decided you don't want to play the game anymore, and I'm not that offended by that. After everyone has played all of their cards, and by the way, if you seize a lot, you will have fewer cards than other players. That means you'll just have to play fewer rounds. You'll get passed in future rounds. Once everyone is out of cards, we do scoring, and then we check for victory, and then advance this. Usually the game is 3 or 4 chapters. Make sense? Good? Good. All right. The last thing to mention, the last thing to mention that's new is every resource has a special effect. Most of them are free actions. At the start of your turn, you could spend this to build, spend this to move. You could spend both of them to build and move, or move and build. The weapon adds the word battle to the card you played. So it does not give you an action, it just adds the word battle to that card. Okay, let's look at the victory conditions once more. The magnate condition up at the top is having the most fuel and materials. The tyrant, most captives. The warlord is the most destroyed pieces. Whenever you destroy a piece in combat, you will take it in your trophies, and you will add them up. Now, the trophies are only returned when we resolve that scoring condition. So if no one declares it, all of your pieces will slowly end up in the trophies. When we resolve the condition, then we return all the pieces. Okay. The captives work the same way. And then the keeper of relics here is going to count just relics, and the empath is going to count just psionics, the last resource. Does that make sense? All right, that is a full overview of the rules. I will deal you your hands, and I will answer your questions while you're playing, and then I'll talk to these lovely folks who are around.
Alright, das war eine Übersicht von Arx, von Spielworxx, erscheint nächstes Jahr 2025 und wir machen uns jetzt wieder ab. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao.